Once again, thank you for coming. VR Summit at Amusement Expo, the 4th annual one. Will there be a 5th? Every year I say I'm not doing this again. And every year Pete and Lori and Brian woo me back for some reason. And I say, yes, I'm a glutton for punishment. This year's been a challenge. We've all been challenged. I'm not going to whine about my challenges pulling off this from a distance, but I've had a lot of help in the room, on the ground. Brian Glasgow, the team at Glasgow has been great. The team at Encore at the Westgate have been fabulous. My partner in crime at Show Up, Chris Alba in the room, has been helping massively. Kylie Savage, my producer, in the other room here back in Melbourne. I'm Bob Cooney. You know that. And I'm going to bring you, in a minute, I'm going to introduce Matt Wells. Matt Wells is the co-founder and CEO of Frontgrid, the makers of Paradrop, and Matt is we're gonna learn Matt's story a little bit, and we're gonna talk about this kind of like adventure-based hyper reality experiences in VR, and then that's gonna lead us into a panel discussion with Matt and James Jensen from Jump and Michael Bridgman from Major Mega, which makes Hyperdeck. And that's going to be moderated by my friend Greg Catano from Hollowgate, not Holodeck, as I said last time, because sometimes my brain feels hollowed out. So let's, anyway, enough about me. Let's get Matt on the screen. Matt Wells, say hello.
Hello, everybody.
So first things first, most important news of the day. Who won the England versus Germany Euro soccer team today, Matt?
Yeah, you seem to be stealing my news, but it was a grateful win for England. I think it's the first time in 55 years we've knocked Germany out of a major tournament. So pretty pleased to beat Germany at home.
And so the guys at Hollowgate back in Germany might not be so happy, but that's okay.
I'm sure they won't be. that's totally okay.
So, Matt, thanks for joining from the UK. I know you wanted to be here, but travel internationally is still a real challenge. So I really appreciate you dialing in via whatever this technology is. And so I'm going to turn this over to you. And I think you've got a little presentation to share, and then we're going to do a video, and then we'll do some more stuff. And so, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Matt Wells.
Well, welcome everyone to my presentation. It's coming all the way live from North Wales in the UK, and as Bob said, just hot off the victory of England over Germany, which for me is a great evening to start on. Firstly, I'd like to thank Bob, obviously, for inviting me to talk this evening or today in the USA time. And like him, I was planning to be there. So from a travel restrictions perspective, I'm pretty upset I couldn't get on a plane and fly over to the US, but you know, hey, that's the way the world is at the moment. So look, you know, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, I've spent my entire life, really, my entire career, dealing with adventures, different types of adventures, mainly in the mountains and on land. And you know, my story really has been built over the years in terms of trying to translate those experiences and those adventures that I've had into a virtual reality setting, and that was where Paratrooper VR was born. What I want to talk about is beyond my own journeys and the development of Paratrooper VR is a sort of a future blueprint, really, for what I'm coining in terms of our phrase for us as transformational gamified experiences, which is where I see the future of virtual reality heading. So, because I couldn't be there tonight, I hope you won't mind me cheating slightly. What I've done is put together a short video. It's about 8 minutes long. You know, please don't go to sleep through the middle of it. I'm sure you'll find some of it entertaining. It explains a little bit about me, a little bit about the journey, and then, like I said at the end, we'll revisit the blueprint for the future of gamified experiences. Okay, Bob, if you could play the video, that'd be great.
Yeah. So my name is Matt Wells. No, I don't like that. Let's start again. Hi guys, my name is Matt Wells. I'm the co-founder and chief executive of Frontgrid and the co-inventor of Paratrooper VR. I served in the British Army for 9 years, and then after that time decided to leave the army and go travelling around the world. I really wanted to pursue my interests and career in the outdoor adventurous industries. So I wanted to become like a mountain instructor, mountain guide, which I pursued and became qualified as a mountaineering instructor and started an expedition company when I was in my sort of late 20s. That expedition company used to take young people on adventurous journeys really around the world to 60 different countries. It was during that time that I could relate to the experiences that I'd been through as a young person where I'd felt that development effect of being in the outdoors and being involved in adventures. And I could see that happening with the young people we were taking away. And that kind of connection between what I experienced in my early career as a paratrooper and the excitement and enjoyment of flying under canopy with the adventurous journey element through Outlook Expeditions gave me this sort of belief that wouldn't it be great if you could provide those sorts of experiences in an entertainment setting. And I started looking at the emergence of virtual reality and started considering how you could connect the virtual reality element of what you see through a set of goggles into the motion element of parachuting and paragliding, and bringing those two together to create a really cool flying experience, which is Paradrop VR. When we considered what we were going to build, we really had to start thinking about how we would combine the motion and the VR environment together in order to create an under canopy experience that felt like the real thing. So Paradrop VR is a motion-based platform which allows people to feel the sensation of flying under canopy. The vertical motion on the vertical axis provides the lift and the fall, and the steering is then delivered through your own self-control using different toggles like you would use on a real canopy, where when you're steering yourself around the sky, when you're flying around that virtual environment, not only do you feel like you're on the canopy, but you get the ability to fly closer to things that you normally would. So you can fly really close to the mountains. You can perform deeper dives, and you can get a real sensation of speed when you get low. And for us, that was like a real moment. It was like the magic moment where we realised that we'd built something that we felt not only provided a great experience that was close to the real thing, but it had real potential to be accelerated beyond just standard environments into possibly a gamified experience, which became the next element of the evolution. Flying around the mountains is quite exciting, and people that fly it for the first few times find that really exhilarating, and they get a real buzz from flying on the product. Once you've done it a few times, you then start to notice the gamification elements within the environment that we've built. So we added rings in the sky and different features where you could score points by hitting those rings, and those points would then be transferred into a mobile app, which would allow you to manage your score after the game, and then compare your score through the app locally at the site, nationally in the country, and then globally. So effectively, we've got a leaderboard that's connected to the under canopy flying experience. And that enables the individual to want to come back again and again and again to try and better their score. We launched Paradrop VR in 2017, and since then have installed the product in 9 countries worldwide. We've also flown over 1 million people on the product. People ask me regularly what Paradrop VR is like. Does it feel real? Is it like the real sensation? And the answer to that is, from my perspective, is yes, it absolutely does. But to validate that, we brought the Red Devils to one of our locations in the UK. The Red Devils are the British Army's parachute display team. When they came off the product, they were amazed at how close the experience is to real life. I mean, Paradrop VR has been in the market now for a number of years, and we've had some great success. But during the pandemic, it was obviously a time to reflect. And we decided quite early on in 2020 to focus our energy on the future of Paradrop VR as a product and as a brand. There's the hardware itself, which delivers the motion. There's the virtual reality environment, which delivers not only the fantastic experience and the environment that you fly through, but also the gamification. And then there's the community element, and the community element for me is something that's really quite exciting. That gives people that fly the product the ability to choose a character, be that character in flight, and fly with other people. So the idea that you're in that environment on your own is gone. You're now in that environment with other people. You look to your left and you can see your friends. You can talk to them. And you can say, "Follow me." It becomes a real social experience. There's been a lot of criticism over the years of entertainment products not allowing people to go where they want to go and do what they want to do. But at the same time, in my opinion, it's been a time where people have said it's not social enough. So by bringing the multiplayer, multi-flyer experience to Paratrooper VR, we're really excited about what that can bring. I think when you put two people together to either fly for a social experience and cruise, or two people together that are totally focused on racing and scoring points, it becomes a genuinely magical experience. As an operator, you'll all be really aware that getting people to repeat play on your products and your locations is top of the list. And with the way that we've developed Paratrooper VR and the game itself, and the link to the characters and the ability to score points, we believe that you will have the added advantage of getting people to come back and play to not only better their score, but to fly in different environments. The other layer that we've developed is this ability for operators to run events through the web platform. So you can literally host a flying event at your location, invite your community back to that location to fly, and on that single day you could have a competition where you could have a top flyer. So when we looked at the hardware, it was pretty evident that we needed to consider making it smaller. So we've looked at lowering the height. Another factor that we felt from a commercial perspective was to try and make the ride operator this. We've delivered on both of those. You know, when I sort of think back, I've always started with the user in mind at the beginning. So what does the user experience and how does that experience feel? If that works for them, that's great, but how does it work from an operator's perspective? Because you need to make sure that you've got enough throughput, that the process is simple to make it a commercially viable product in the market. Now we've had, I think, over 3 years, nearly 4 years of operating Paratrooper VR in the market. We know our throughput, we know our process, we know it works. And what we've done is applied that to the Paratrooper VR pod, but in a slightly different way. The product can be operated with an operator, or you can have it attendant-less, which effectively means that users can come up to the ride. They can tap into the touch panel, the ride they want to take part in. They can jump on the ride, have their experience, and turn around and see their score as they exit the experience. So that allows you as operators to put that ride somewhere which doesn't require a member of staff to stand by all day. So everything that we've been working on for the last couple of years and more recently, in our opinion, is really pushing the edges of adventure and reality.
Hi guys. So basically, hopefully from that presentation, apologies for it being video. Obviously, I'd like to have been there myself, but you can see how passionate I am about the sort of the future of virtual reality. And I sort of look at this category as part of my opportunity to speak, where I'm talking to a lot of people that are operators, a lot of people that operate in the amusement sector. And what you're sort of starting to see with a product like Paratrooper VR is this blurring of the edges of the difference between an amusement product and possibly an attraction. And I think really what I'm trying to do there is touch on this ability to cater for an audience that's very diverse. So from your younger generation audience that want the next generation of content and experience combined, to the older generation that just maybe want to cruise, so that you could bring your family, your mum and your dad could sit on the same product, and your son and your daughter could sit on the same product. So the design side of it has been really something that I've been trying to work on. This kind of concept of what I'm talking about, which is the transformational gamified experience, is based on this idea that once you're in an environment and you get used to the flying and the flying sensation, and you feel like you've been transported somewhere completely unique, that might take someone that wants to do that in real life a long time. But to do it on something like the Paratrooper VR, for instance, you can get into that product and you can experience that immediately. But what becomes quite evident after a certain period of time is that the gamification piece becomes really, really important. And really, from my perspective, when I look at this idea of a kind of blueprint for the future, or for transformational gamified experiences, I've kind of got these 4 areas around me that I have to play with, really. The first one is the hardware. I mean, I could talk all day long about hardware and different types of products out there, but the number one for me is it's got to look attractive. You've got to be looking at putting stuff into your locations that are attractive. And for me, it's a really top line consideration. Underneath that, of course, it's got to deliver a really good ROI. So, things like affordable to purchase, but with great throughput and the ability to leverage a high price. But then most importantly, I think from a operator's perspective, is manageable. So attendantless operation, things like mobile, single phase power are really important. But connected to that, of course, to the side support. So making sure that, you've got the right kind of support, technical, from a distance possibly, or locally, all the way through to possibly a connected party nearby that can come and help you fix day-to-day issues. I mean, we all know what it's like to operate VR. We can't hide behind the fact that certainly things go wrong, but having the ability on site to be able to either dial in to someone to help you fix technical issues, or on site to be able to pull off a piece of equipment that you can fit quickly, I think are the two most important things when it comes to the hardware. The next step for me then, the content is really something that we've learned. We didn't launch our first content other than just to release a piece of content that put you into a mountainous terrain and you flew around and you collected points. But what was lacking, in my opinion, there was this idea of a story. So any product you're looking at in the market, in my opinion, has got to have a compelling story. The idea that there's certain characters that you can become as you join that journey, I think adds to the mix. A lot of kids these days are playing super cool video games online, like Fortnite, where they choose characters and they play as those characters in those games. And I think that as we try and compete with the home play market as operators in time, we've got to be looking at products that we can put into our locations that bring that same level of excitement and interest for the younger generation. And then there's a bit that's connected to that, which I touched on in the video, which is the community aspect. And I think this is a really interesting monetizable asset as we look long-term at the future of entertainment centers, amusements, FECs, and location-based entertainment. And what I see there is that when you bring in multiplayer VR experiences, obviously that adds a social element. When they're transformational and connected to a game, that becomes possibly something that takes the product beyond just a standard amusement experience. If you can then connect with the individuals that have experienced in that product before the event, possibly at an event, and then possibly after an event, I think you have the ability to build a community around those products or around that ride or around that location. So, to sort of close really, what I'm seeing is a future whereby you mix good quality hardware with fantastic support, with fantastic content that gives great experiences, and the ability to build a kind of community around the ride or around the experience. So that's my kind of blueprint on the future of transformational experiences. I'm Matt Wells. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Matt. And I want to touch on a couple of things that you mentioned there, while maybe Greg, if you want to kind of rally the panel up on stage, and then Chris can switch us over to Zoom for the panel. But before he switches us over, you talked about two things that were interesting to me. One is like price point, creating these experiences that people are willing to pay more for. And so let's start there and just talk a little bit with your experience with the original Paradrop. What kind of price points were you guys getting?
I mean, you're looking sometimes for a product like ours in and around 100K per unit. That was
no,
the
I mean consumer
product.
consumer price point.
Yeah, but for the unit itself, 100K, US dollars per unit.
No.
Consumer price point, you were looking at somewhere between $7 and $10 a ride. So
Yeah.
your consumer price point is a lot higher for that type of experience than you would get for something completely different. When you look at then the price point moving into the smaller product, your price point should remain pretty similar. You should be able to keep your price point quite high. What we've tried to do is look at trying to bring our price down by bringing our hardware costs down.
Yeah, and we'll get into price point, I'm sure, on this panel, because I think we're going to be and so if Chris is in the room, I don't see him yet, but we need to switch the laptop over to the Zoom feed. And the other thing you talked about is community, and so like this community of flyers. I know James with Jump is going to tap into this, the skydiving community, and you guys are kind of taking, I'm just wondering, like, how much of a community is there that operators could tap into, and can you have regular events? And then when I'm done with this question, Chris, you can switch us over to Zoom. What do you think, Matt?
It's quite an interesting one because, this sort of experience is quite niche. So, whether it be flying under canopy or flying on a wingsuit, it's a niche community. But what you find is a lot of people have the desire to take part in it. They've just not had the ability to touch that kind of experience. So something like Paratrooper VR, Jump, possibly, it gets you into that zone where you can experience something that you wouldn't normally have the opportunity to do. I think gamifying it just takes it that next level to stretch that market a little bit bigger. So we don't want to be niche. We want to be in an area where the product's repeatable. and as a repeatable experience. And I think gamification provides that opportunity.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, Matt, if you want to jump on over to the Zoom link, we will convene the panel and we'll see you over there. I really appreciate you taking the time. And,
Thanks very much, Bob.
and we'll see you in another window here shortly.